Hello everyone, my name is Valentina Vorster and I am currently a private violin teacher at El Shaddai Christian School in Durbanville, Cape Town, as well as a freelancing musician of orchestral, chamber and saloon music. My teaching experience forms a period of about 16 years, along with my full-time employment with various orchestras in my home country, Bulgaria, as well orchestras in my new home country, South Africa. Today I'm going to talk to you about studies, or as they are also known as etudes. We all know that practicing scales is good for your technique, intonation, sound quality, and your general well-being as an instrumentalist. But I don't know about you, but when I was a young student, I didn't enjoy practicing scales every day, simply because I would get stuck on one and kind of never be happy with the intonation of it, and then continue for way too long until my time is up without managing to practice anything else. So I kind of refrained myself from practicing scales every day. But on the other hand, I would enjoy practicing other technical exercises, read new exercise books, or I loved practicing etudes. Maybe thanks to my lovely violin teacher, but I did love practicing etudes. Of course, later on, I realized that if you are fluent and easy with all sorts of scales, arpeggios, chromatic scales, diminished and dominant sevenths, or double stops, you can play almost unlimited repertoire. But back to the etudes. I had to look it up in the dictionary for the description of etude. One description says, etude is a French word for study, a short musical composition, typically for one instrument, designed as an exercise to improve the technique or demonstrate the skill of the player. Another description says, in music, originally a study or technical exercise, and the later meaning, a complete and musically intelligible composition exploring a particular technical problem in an aesthetically satisfying manner. So, this is my favorite part, but we will elaborate on that a bit later. So, we are going to focus on these two aspects of etudes. Number one, designed as an exercise to improve technique, and number two, a musically intelligible composition exploring a particular technical problem in an aesthetically satisfying manner. I'm going to elaborate on the first aspect. Etude or study is designed as an exercise to improve technique. For teachers, let's say that you have students who have finished with their first few beginner books and you would like them to progress to the next level. Do we do that through pieces alone? In my opinion, no. The benefits that a study would give is that each will focus on a certain key or scale, rhythm or bow pattern, and help with a simple sight reading. Also, you can use those as a tool for improving their intonation. I would highly recommend introducing a good study book and ask the parents to purchase one of the following. For little children, I would recommend Mary Cohen's Super Study Book 1 and Book 2, where each study has got very friendly and fun title and introduces either a specific rhythm or articulation or maybe even certain notes, new notes. Further on, the Associated Board of the Royal School of Music has a few affiliates. One of them is Roseby Wolf with his 50 elementary studies, or Herbert Kinsey, who has got elementary progressive studies, set 1, 2, 3, which introduce the different positions on the violin alongside with, of course, different rhythms and other aspects of the violin playing. Another classic example would be Adam Kars, who has his progressive violin studies. Also, I know at least 5 books of those, and they consist of his own studies. He gradually introduces a lot of different bow and fingering patterns, articulations, and bow technique, from détaché, legato, martelet, accents, mixed bow patterns, introduction to trills, and even double stops in some of the later books. Adam Kars also compiled another at least 5 books called New School of Violin Studies, which is a big compilation of studies written by many other composers, such as Kaiser, Wolfart, Hoffmann, Loder, Kreutzer, and others. As you can hear, the possibilities are endless. And I think it is an excellent tool to introduce for your younger students to practice good discipline. For the advanced players, here is when it becomes very interesting and inspiring, which will lead me to focus on the second aspect of etudes, which we said is a musically intelligible composition exploring a particular technical problem in an aesthetically satisfying manner. I'm a firm believer that an instrumentalist should advance technically through technical exercises and etudes, and not just through repertoire. Many times we have found ourselves, myself included, trying to tackle a colossal work when we are not really ready for it, and thus wearing it off musically and wearing off the interpretation, also making the piece tired and ourselves as well. After a few of those experiences in my teenage years, I have come to the conclusion that one should always look for different technical challenges in their repertoire to be found in the study books, and focusing on each of them separately until they are mastered. In your concerto, in your sonata, you've got really so many different challenges, and you can only benefit by finding this in your etudes. The books and the numbers of etudes that are written are endless, and actually if one can decide to cover all these books, I am pretty sure that we can actually play most of the difficult violin repertoire. But unfortunately, we always have time constraints, and yeah, it is almost like a lifetime task. There are many other benefits of practicing etudes. They also have different required dynamics, phrasing, which are marked on the sheet music. Also, 1 or 2 sets of specific fingerings that a player can choose from. And because of that, you learn a lot of interesting new fingerings. I'm particularly in love with the study book of Jacques Matias. He wrote brilliant etudes, opus 36. They have got very pretty, satisfying melody lines and changing harmonies, modulations to different keys, accidentals, and variety of rhythms, while at the same time help you with mastering certain violin technique. Normally the fast tempos, the studies in fast tempo and more small note values and fast rhythms, they are about 2 pages each, which gives you enough chance to master the certain technique. So I would like to share excerpts of a few of them just to have a general idea, but I must say some of them are really suitable for a violin solo performance, and I would gladly use them as a piece for different occasion of a violin solo. So yeah, here is Matias book 1. I have it in 2 separate books. So I will start with an example for détaché, mastering a détaché. It is number 5, quite well known. I'll just play a few lines of that, or bars, and also show you that those studies also have options for different bow variety, bow strokes. So yeah, here is number 5. And so on, and goes in some sequence, but you are including first position notes, third position, and fifth position in that study. And you also can play it in different bow patterns. Or so this is your number 5 Matias. We can go to number 4, which will practice martelet as one option, which is your stroke in the upper half. Or you can practice spiccato. Or you can play still détaché. And you have an entire 2 long pages to master those things. Going on in number 8 of Matias, which is one of the beautiful ones. This is the one that I refer to, suitable for a solo piece. Just a little bit of it. And then it continues in very beautiful exploration of the fingerboard with a lot of pretty shifts. Going on to number 15, for example, when you can practice different articulations and rhythmical groups. Okay, and then we're going on to number 16, which is a little more brilliant technique with the nice grazioso semiquavers. again, it continues for another 1.5 pages. So this is by no means perfect performance. It is just an example of those studies. I can also show you a little bit of the second book, just to maybe see a little bit of a difference. We are going to go to number 38, which also can serve as a nice solo piece, slower pace. There is a lot of shifts here, so I'm not guaranteeing success in my shifting today, but again, I'm going to try my best. As you can see, there is a lot of high shifts which need practicing, but something to consider finding for your own practicing. And then we are going to finish the Matias books with the number 45. It's a beautiful fast-paced study with a little bit of bouncing semiquavers. This was Matias. Moving on, I would like to end my presentation with the legendary, famous, favorite 42 studies by Rudolf Kreutzer. In my opinion, this is a book that no violinist should go without. And for many pedagogues and violinists, this is the Bible of the violin basics, where you can practice literally everything about your violin technique and discover topics that are seen in all the violin repertoire, from single détaché notes to double stoppings, and ending with polyphonic studies. I'm only going to include 2 of the Kreutzer studies, number 2 and number 42. Number 2 is a famous study. I remember watching lots of movies, and if there was a violinist in the movie, they would show them briefly practicing Kreutzer number 2. So even for non-musicians, that could be a study and tune that is very well known or very familiar. But the interesting part about that study is that it can be practiced as a simple, plain text as it is on the book. But also, in my book particularly, I have 11 different bow patterns and rhythms that you can apply to the study. So this is actually organizing yourself hours of practicing and learning patterns. So this is Kreutzer number 2, very little excerpt of this. And so on. But then you have different options. bow. And then you can practice your soutien, your Viotti stroke. Also, part of the different parts of the bow. And yeah, you can even improve, create your own. So this is the famous Kreutzer study, which kids should memorize and work on this scale-like patterns and intonation, and a very good détaché. Sometimes I use this for improving bow technique and bow hold and fixing wrong technique as well on the bow. And the last one, which was my first example of Bach fugue, like preparation for your Bach fugue, because it is written in a way to prepare you for Bach fugue. So very small excerpt, because I have forgotten this study, but yes, I'll try. And again, you've got two beautiful pages of those chords, which I use to play for exams. So this is Kreutzer. This brings very special memories. My teacher at the Music Academy, when we were first year, we all had to change and improve our bow hold and bow technique. And after doing that initial course, we were quite a few first year students in her class that year, and the next step was to memorize 30 of the Kreutzer studies. And when we heard this crazy method and requirements, we actually couldn't understand how that teacher is what was she thinking. With all my love to my teacher in Bulgaria, in the Music Academy in Bulgaria, we had to sit down and know what notes are in the third line of study number 8, for example, and then we had to have our practices together between colleagues, and we would test each other if you know it well. So honestly, we knew half of that quite well, and we could react to that. And as we were going along, we would ask ourselves a question, and we would ask the teacher eventually, but what is the purpose of that? Why do we need to memorize those hundreds of notes and knowing at any given moment on what line and what bar of that line I am? And the answer was orchestra conductors who have conducted her students, her ex-students, would notice that those students stare at them as they play the symphonies and follow the gesture instead of looking at the music, at the sheet music. So this created quite quick studying, good memory, improving your memory, and being able to to split your attention as an orchestra player quite well. So this is my special memory on Kreutzer studies. Try that at home in your class, violin class, as a teacher or between colleagues. It's quite fun. They could be a question: how much should you stay on one study, and when should you move on? What is the principle? What is the idea? Do you stay on one study until it is super perfect, almost recording ready, or do you ignore some of the imperfections and move on? I don't have really an answer to this. I would say try to perfect it as much as possible, but the better option would be to play as many studies in 1 week as possible, or in 1 month as possible. That will improve different parts of your technique. You will sight read well, and yeah, it will train faster sight reading and quick studying. So if it was up to me, I would take a few studies at a time and not stay on one study for too long. Same with the young students. I think the quantity would be more beneficial than sitting on one study for perfect quality. And after Kreutzer, you can also include books of Don't, Dankla, and Rode, which are even more concert studies and brilliant, almost like capriccio-like studies, which will definitely prepare you for your Wieniawski and Paganini capriccios. So I hope this talk was beneficial to you, and you would be interested to find out about those study books, and would inspire you to explore the beauty of practicing studies.